And I'm going to pop it open to bring in my good friend, one of my favorite, not only one of the greatest, the GOAT. You can call him the greatest offensive lineman ever. Do you realize that? And he is. I got some especial, too, because he is a special. He is the great Anthony Munoz, 11 straight Pro Bowls, Hall of Fame at USC, Hall of Fame in the National Football League. 11 straight Pro Bowls, Harry.
Yeah, man.
13 years with the Cincinnati Bengals. Moon, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. I tell you what, I was going to ask you, but you said especial. I was going to say negra or especial. You already.
I got the especial because
okay.
you're an especial guy to me. But I love all the Modelos. In fact,
That's right. It's good. That's good. Hey, one name that you mentioned, I got to make a remark on it because he was one of my biggest advocates. What a wonderful man, great Hall of Fame tackle. You mentioned Mike McCormick, and he was a big advocate, as we all know. You probably know he was here in Cincinnati coaching. He put a scouting report together for me in my limited playing days at USC that I actually have. It's like 4 pages of handwritten notes, and it was Mike McCormick, and I'm very thankful for Mike. Of course, God bless us all. We lost Mike. What a wonderful man, but a Hall of Fame tackle also. So I had to make that comment when you mentioned his name.
I remember when you were at USC. That's how old I am, bro.
We both are.
Your senior season, right? You got hurt earlier, hurt your knee, and then you went on to play in the Rose Bowl the same year.
Yeah, in fact, it was my third knee operation in 4 years. The 2 previous, freshman, junior year, 7 games in the season. The senior year, it was second time we had the football, the opening week in Lubbock, Texas. That time, that was my left leg. I had 2 on the right. Had surgery, rehabilitated. We won the conference again. We were going to our 3rd Rose Bowl in 4 years, and I'd yet to play in one because of the injuries. And I was determined to play, and I had a chance. Played the entire game as we drove 80-plus yards to beat Ohio State. I don't say the Ohio State.
Exactly.
Ohio State.
Exactly.
I got to watch it because my daughter's in the other room, and she played hoop at Ohio State, so I just got to be careful what I say. But, no, so, yeah, I did play in the entire game, and it helped me out in the long run.
The great Anthony Munoz. Good to talk to you, man. I saw you in Miami, but you were running through there, so I didn't get a chance to grab you and say hi at the Super Bowl this year. But we've seen you so many times over the years, man, and you're just one of my favorite. Not just a great player, not because I know you, but you have to be, of all the NFL athletes I've ever been fortunate enough to meet, you have to be the most perfect human being.
Well, no, I mean, I appreciate that, and those are kind words, but we'll line them up right here. I got my wife, my daughter, my grandkids. They'll tell you that I'm not perfect. But you know, it's one of the, and I appreciate that, Tony. I love seeing you, and it was great to see you, and it was great when I saw this message that you're back on radio, and I get a chance to talk to you again on the radio. But, it's one of those things where, first of all, you appreciate what you've gone through, where you come from, Southern California, not having a whole lot. Then that adversity I had, as I just talked about in college, getting the chance to go to an NFL camp by the Brown family, and they drafted me. And, you appreciate things like that, and you appreciate people. And, it's one of those things you take 10, 20, 30 seconds to sit and talk to someone, and instead of just blowing people off. That's what it's all about. It's the fans. I mean, it's the media, the fans that make it possible for us to do what we're doing. And even now as an old guy, people still want to talk, and I'm willing to talk. So I appreciate your kindness.
Well, Anthony, obviously unprecedented times these last couple of months here in the United States. Tell us about how you and your family have been getting through the last 7-8 weeks.
Well, first of all, I'm thankful that I've always had, we've had 2 homes, and I always finish about a third of the basement. I have an exercise weight room. So I have cardio. I have everything I need down there, so I can kind of submerge myself down there, hit into the basement for a couple hours. So that's helped. I can keep working out every day. My wife and I have just been hanging out. We April 22nd, not long ago, we celebrated 42 years of marriage. So we're just hanging and having fun. And, we have seen our daughter and her husband and grandkids. So they're over right now. We're actually putting together a nice Mexican meal for tonight. And I don't know, it's some kind of holiday, so I don't know. We're just kind of enjoying some Mexican food. And I might say, you kind of prompted me. I might have to go to the refrigerator. I think I have a 6 of Modelo left. So,
love the Modelo.
But, yeah, so just doing that, just kind of trying to, I got a foundation, a couple of small companies, just trying to make sure that, we can keep everybody on staff with the very lean. Everyone is very lean. We've been able to apply and get the PPP loans, and so that's going to help us, and we, like I said, foundation, I have 3 full-time. I have a corporate apparel promotional company that have 5, and then an agency that there's a couple of us. So I've been able to really continue to move forward and keep a lot of young staff with families. And other than that, just now and then we'll go over to the store. I just played probably my 7th or 8th round of golf yesterday, so I'm thankful that the courses have been open throughout the whole time for us here.
So now, are you in Ontario or Cincinnati? Because you have the home in Cincinnati, obviously, where you played.
Yeah, Cincinnati's full-time. Yeah, we're full-time. We stayed here from the beginning.
Right.
After I retired. We get to Southern California and we do events. But, yeah, we don't have an official place there other than, we got a couple of hotels that we stay in, good friends, and, of course, my family's there and friends. But, yeah, so Cincinnati is home full-time. We're here. Yeah, I'm glad because I got some buddies that I play golf with, and we've done everything from ride, which has kind of been weird. You ride individually in a cart, and then, things that some I never do because for me, golf is not exercise. I do my workouts, so I'm in a cart all the time. I drive a cart. But actually, about 2 or 3 rounds, we've had to walk. I said, okay, I'll walk. So I kind of feel good. I got this little push cart. It's like,
wait a minute, I thought the governor there shut the state down. You're allowed to play golf in Ohio?
Everything but golf. In fact, I had a tee time on a Tuesday morning, and Monday afternoon we got a notice that said, okay, golf course is closed. Then about a half an hour later, they said, okay, they're open. So, yeah, they've remained. Everything has been closed except the golf course. I mean, seriously, think about it. You're out there. You're not that close to people if you walk, and they encourage you to get exercise. And what better way to go out and swing the golf club and walk about 4 or 5 miles on the course. But, yeah, so we've been fortunate here. There's been several courses. I play with my buddy that they've had carts the entire time. And then our course, I belong to a TPC course, just opened up this past week and brought out the carts. So now I can get back into riding and, it's fun.
Do they have the cups obstructed at all, or can you putt the ball?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, the ball does not go into the cup, so you don't have to reach into the cup. They encourage you. They wipe down everything. They have tables set outside the club. The clubhouses are closed. Mm-hmm. The practice facility is closed. So you get there and you just, and they have hand sanitizer and they have everything there. And the good thing is they did not say you've got to wear a mask out on the golf course. So
right.
I've seen people jogging by themselves at the local park and they're wearing a mask, and I'm thinking, wait, I'd have hard enough time breathing without a mask, let alone wearing a mask. But, so those are, and it's just my wife and I have been kind of catching up on some movies and different shows. And, I wasn't a big Law and Order guy, but I've been watching all their different Law and Order stuff. And, you got to throw in a few Hallmark movies in there with your wife. So.
I don't know about that. If Robin puts a Hallmark movie on,
she goes to another room.
I leave. I actually go outside and walk 5 miles and say I'll come back when it's all over.
With a mask on.
I guess I'm getting a little soft in my old days.
That's what happens, Moon. I mean, you got to stay tough, man. You got to stay tough. Now, you mentioned.
I'll fight the next one then.
All right. Now, you mentioned, obviously Cincinnati. A lot's been going on there. I mean, the first overall pick and Joe Burrow. You're obviously really close to the Bengals organization. Yep. You mentioned Paul Brown and that they found you and brought you out there. So, what are your thoughts on what's happened there? Andy Dalton is now a Dallas Cowboy. Joe Burrow. So, as you were living through that during the this whole pandemic, did you stay in touch? I mean, because we talk about Cincinnati Bengal all-timers. You're one of the all-timers.
Well, appreciate that. I'm not in contact. I mean, I've established a pretty good relationship with Zach. I haven't seen him a whole lot, but just seeing what they're doing, I've really been impressed. Last year 2-14. Zach's first year was. I mean, you start the season without your stud wide receiver AJ Green. You draft the offensive tackle with the 11th pick, Jonah Williams, and he didn't even play. All these injuries. And so here's the thing. I love what they're doing. So, in the past, people have complained about free agency. You go out and spend this money, but it's not good money spent. To get all these guys, and the thing I love about what they're doing with free agency and the draft, I believe the culture is turning here. So just about every guy they've signed in free agency. You guys know free agency is kind of a crapshoot, just like the draft. They might be successful if the teams are coming from. They come here, and it might work. Hopefully it does. But every one of these guys they signed has playoff experience. So here's guys that have played for Mike Zimmer in Minnesota, which I'm thrilled about. We have DJ Reader, a stud nose tackle, kind of help out Geno, who's getting up. So let's start with that first. They've spent, $150 million, and it looks like they've spent it on some pretty good talent. Now go to the draft. 6 of the 7 draft picks, all captains in college. One of them a 3-time captain. 3 of the 7 have dads that are high school coaches or coaches. So it's like, okay, you're not only getting some pretty good football players, but these guys are the guys that the teammates, they're not only producing on the field, but their teammates are voting them as leaders on their football team. Their only guy, T. Higgins, he left after his junior year. I talked to Charlie Weiss, Coach Weiss. His real good friend was T. Higgins' position coach at Clemson. Said if the kid stays for his senior year, there's no doubt he would have been a captain because he's as solid as you get as a player for Clemson Tigers. So there's a culture. There's a kind of a, I like what's going on. Again, you got to go and win football games. Joe Burrow, I'm a big fan. I think one of the areas that they've struggled with is the offensive line. Now, Jonah Williams is healthy. He's going to be a rookie, so it's like we got 2 number 1s coming in this year, Joe Burrow and Jonah Williams. Jonah Williams was inserted as the starting left tackle before he got hurt. So if he plays the way they believe he can, I mean, stud, work ethic, stud. Then you got Michael Jackson, 6'6", 315, very talented, very athletic. So he's going into his second year left guard. Trey Hopkins, who's nothing but consistent. Then they signed Xavier Shuafila from the Cowboys, who has probably 50, 60 starts. And then the right tackle, I think that's going to be the position where they'll need to find out. You know, they drafted a kid, Hakeem, from Kansas, who's very athletic. Started a lot of games at both right and left tackle. Then they have another guy, Fred Johnson, who played really well towards the end of the season. Big kid. So that's the one area that I think they need to really develop. I mean, when you have a guy like A.J. Green, Trent Boyd, and then you got Joe Mixon, who's a stud. I mean, this young quarterback is going to have some really a pretty good supporting cast around him, and then they've really revamped that defense. You still have guys like Geno Atkins, and you have guys like Carlos Dunlap to kind of have that leadership there. They drafted, I think, 3 or 4 linebackers, and they're all athletic. They can play inside, they can play outside, they can run. And again, the thing that I love, they were all captains on their college team, so they're leaders. And the great thing about this Bengals staff too is they coach the Senior Bowl. So some of these guys they got to see close up. They got to see how they worked in the meeting room. Then if they weren't on their team, they got to watch them on the opposing team. So that worked out for them, being in the situation where they are, the number 1 pick every round. So I don't know. Again, there's some optimism. Again, as we know, with what's going on with the pandemic, are they going to start on time? But when they get rolling, you got to win football games.
Yeah, they got a guy that I wanted for the Eagles, Tony. That guy Logan Wilson, the linebacker from Wyoming. They started off the 3rd round with him. Anthony, I think he's the 3-time captain, right?
Right.
Yeah, and, he's a stud.
And the experience, he's played cornerback. He's played, so he's played, and, before he got as big as he is now, 240, 250, he was a defensive back. He did some specialty things that, so Logan Wilson, you got the defensive end from Notre Dame, and you got, Appalachian State, so these guys can run. But, and then, T. Higgins, man, he's that 6'4" wide receiver. You get him on the big, he's a big fan. He admires, and A.J. Green has been like his guy that he's watched. So now, hopefully A.J. Green's work ethic on this level will rub off on a young wide receiver like T. Higgins.
What do you think about your fellow USC Trojan tackle, Austin Jackson, going to Miami, going to be protecting TUE?
I like Austin Jackson. I was kind of hoping that, we had that number 1 pick, and we weren't going to go lineman anyway, but I was kind of hoping if he did last that first pick in the second round that we might be able to take him. But I like him. Very athletic, good size, can move extremely well. I think Miami's done a nice job with their draft. If TUE is healthy like they say is, I think they've done a nice job, too, going through. But I like Jackson. I've liked him since I first saw him at USC. I still follow the Trojans, very, very close. And I like him.
The great Anthony Munoz, you could tell he's getting excited, especially when you talk about linemen. Nobody knows linemen better than a Hall of Fame lineman, the greatest lineman not only in Cincinnati Bengal history, but maybe in NFL history.
Well, you're kind. Thank you.
That's not the Modelo speaking either, Anthony. That's my, that's how I feel about you, man.
Well, I appreciate it. It's great hearing your voice, man.
Thank you, man. Well, we're on Sirius XM now. We're on the Dan Patrick channel. Rich Eisen, Dan Patrick, me on there. Harry Mays, my longtime partner, reuniting again. There's nobody's working in sports except we are now when there's no sports to talk about. So that's I don't know what that says about what's going on, but.
So here's a little insight. You probably already know this. Dan Patrick. So I live 20 miles north of Cincinnati in Mason, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Patrick from Mason, Ohio.
Yep.
His brother, Mike. Do you know his given name, last name?
Yes.
Okay, good. Dan, so Mike Pugh, his brother.
That's right. Bill Pugh is his other brother who was a program director out in San Diego for many, many years.
Exactly. Well, Mike Pugh, his brother's son, Mike Pugh Jr., played football with my son in high school, and then Maggie Pugh, Dan's niece, went to the same high school as my daughter. I think they played a little volleyball together. So,
how about that knowledge?
Yeah,
and don't forget, not far from Dayton, where the great Mike Schmidt was
grew up, right?
Dayton Fires.
Exactly right. A lot of great people from Ohio.
Exactly. Oh, John Glenn. How about this? So I got to share this story. So we had a couple over for dinner. There's a couple good friends of ours, and they invited another couple over, so they come over.
Did you have masks on, by the way? Did you have your damn masks on?
This was before. This was like last year.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you're not having too many people in the house.
This was pre-social distancing.
I'll have to send some people over there to break in there and get that separated.
Maximum 100. No, I'm just kidding. So we had two couples over, and so I bring out some wine. I knew the older gentleman, liked scotch, but I didn't have scotch. But I'm going through this stuff that I get for golf tournaments, and I had this tin, and I look, and it's scotch, and it's from Carnoustie, and I don't know anything about it, and it's this really nice. So I bring it out, and I lay it on the counter, so they get here, and pour his wife and the other couple some wine, and I say, I'm not going to say his name yet. I say, I know you like Dewar's, but how about this? So he checks it out. He opens it up. He takes a little glass and has a little glass of the scotch. He said, man, this is pretty good. And we cork it up. We have dinner, dessert, coffee afterwards. And I said, you got to take this home. I put it back in the tin. And I said, I don't drink scotch. And he says, no, leave it here. Leave it here. We'll be back. And I'm thinking, man, if they come back, that's going to be pretty awesome. I played about 4 rounds of golf with this guy. Well, he never made it back to our house. So I have this tin with this scotch, one drink out of it. The one drink was taken by Neil Armstrong.
No way.
Yes. Him and Carol, his wife, his widow now, came over to dinner with our good friends, Tom and Fancy, who introduced. But I played 4 rounds of golf with Neil. You talk about an amazing, one of the most humble, unassuming, kindest. He just grew right up to Wapakoneta, Ohio, right up 75 here. And, you got the Neil Armstrong Museum up in Wapakoneta.
Yep.
But, so it's funny, real quick story. We played partners, so it was him and I the last 6 holes, and we're on par 5, and it's a long 17's a long par 5. And, this time he was like 85. His ball was right down the middle all the time, not very long. So he pulls his driver out. He hits his ball right down the middle, not very long. He comes over and says, Anthony, right there, evidence of my 37-mile-an-hour clubhead speed.
That was one small step for golf, one amazing step for Anthony Munoz on the golf course.
That was great. But a lot of those, people here in Ohio, so we're, and then one other quick one. So my buddy hits a shot, and it's going right towards the green, and there's a bunker right in front of it, and it hits the lip of the bunker, and it just trickles back into the bunker. And Neil says, boy, fine line between heroism and disaster.
Exactly right. That's a great story. That's people don't realize this, because I bust Harry's chops. I play golf, but I haven't played in years. Harry's been out there now like 4 times already since they opened in Pennsylvania, and so many friendships and relationships are made, and business deals are done too on the golf course.
Exactly. Yeah. You figure 3.5 hours, 4 hours in a round. You just take your time. Tony, I've gotten some pretty good size checks written for my foundation without asking. Just having a guy in the cart with me and talking, and we talk about, life. We talk about what we're doing now, and of course, when I start talking about my foundation, it's such a mission and a passion of mine. And the guy later on week or two later, I get this check, and I'm like, holy smokes. But you're right. I mean, you close deals. You really get to know people, too. Mm-hmm. You might know somebody for 10, 15 years. You thought you knew them, and then you spend 18 holes with them, and you're like, holy smokes. He's not who I thought he was.
The great Anthony Munoz, and even though it's a fake holiday, Moon and your family celebrating Cinco de Mayo. Isn't that a gringo thing to do, man?
Well, yeah, I know, but I got to kind of play the act. I just cut up. I got some pork loin, put some sauce on it. My wife's making some shredded beef. We got some flour corn tortillas. And I think my daughter's mixed up maybe a little margarita mix. So
any tamales? No fresh tamales?
No tamales this time. Usually we do. We have some. We have a couple places here that they make some pretty good tamales, but we opted not to do it. One of the things we do Christmas Eve, and we've done it for 10, 11 years, is we do a big Mexican food dinner, and that is part of the dinner. Tamales have to be part of it. In honor of my mom. My mom would crank out a whole tin can every Christmas Eve, and she put the masa on the husk, and she'd make meat ones, and then I didn't really care for the sweet ones. But every Christmas Eve, we didn't get a whole lot for Christmas growing up because we didn't have a whole lot. I don't know what was more exciting for me when those tamales were done, close to midnight, or waking up the next morning and getting our present or two. But I'll tell you what, she had them down. That along, I've not experienced. I haven't been able to find homemade flour tortillas that compared to hers. I mean, she used to whip them out. You would think she cut them out, but they were so round. She had a rolling pin, man. She'd just roll them and just roll them out, big old pile, and they just boom. They'd be gone.
You're making me hungry now, Moon. You're making me hungry.
We got 2 hours and 20 minutes to go.
Now I'm dying for a tamale. By the way, that's what I miss about California and Arizona where Robin lived.
Yeah, the good
you
burritos
go out there
and stuff.
And the tamales were so awesome. Right, Robin? Your dad, Robin, who lost her dad a couple of months ago.
Yeah, actually,
he'd go to this one place.
Sorry to hear that.
One place in Phoenix.
And that was his tradition as well, is Mexican food Christmas Eve. None of the traditional. He did all the Mexican. He made the most fantastic tacos. And Christmas Eve is him standing around the stove making them as fast as he can.
Oh, yeah. I always make them kind of just make stuff up, when we're cooking here, because I like cook, but I don't have to cook. My wife's such a great cook. I just kind of eat and be careful I don't eat too much. But there's little things I'll make, I'll take this and that, and kind of one of the things I made several years ago is we had some corn tortillas. I took some potatoes, fried them real good, threw some chorizo in it, threw it in, put in a taco for my son-in-law. He goes, "What is this?" I said, "Hey, just a little treat."
You're killing me, Moon. You're killing me. I'm starving. And we haven't even started drinking tequila yet. Moon, it's always great to talk to you, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Anytime, you know that. Great talking to you. Take care.